The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a golden hue across the sprawling gardens of the palace on Verdanis. Queen Zyra surveyed her domain from the terrace, her golden armor glimmering as she gazed at the vibrant flora that adorned the landscape. The air was thick with tension, and the once peaceful planet was preparing for conflict. "Your Majesty," came the voice of her advisor, the Los, a sturdy creature resembling a cross between a lion and a hawk. "We must act quickly. The Zeta Alliance grows bolder by the day." Zyra turned, her bright green eyes narrowing. "What do you propose, the Los?" "We can't face them heathen. They're stronger, better armed." "Then we need warriors, brave souls who can fight for us," the Los replied, his wings twitching uneasily. Zyra paced the terrace. "I could summon our neighboring allies, but I doubt they will arrive in time. We need immediate assistance, someone who understands warfare. Perhaps we should reach out to the Galactic Council?" the Los suggested. "We may find ourselves an army among the stars." With a sigh, Zyra realized it was their only option. "Very well. Prepare the message. We'll ask for seasoned warriors." On Earth, Elias tended to his small garden with care. The warm sunlight and gentle breeze soothed him as he pulled weeds from the rich soil. A chill ran down his spine as he felt a sudden shift in energy, like the air had become dense and electrified. He paused, looking up at the sky. "Just a few more tomatoes," he murmured, shaking his head at the thought that had crossed his mind. He had grown to trust his instincts, but this felt different. A holographic projection flickered to life beside him, startling him. The image stabilized, revealing a uniformed ambassador of the Galactic Council. "Elias Fisher," the ambassador called, voice booming despite the soft glow of the hologram. "Ah, yes." Elias replied, brushing dirt from his hands onto his jeans. "You've been chosen for a special mission," the ambassador continued. "Your skills as a gardener have been recognized, and we are sending you to Verdanis." Elias furrowed his brow. "A gardener? For a mission?" The ambassador nodded gravely. "The Queen of Verdanis requires assistance. A call for warriors has been made, and you are among those chosen, though your skills may not be what she expects." Elias are his temples, trying to process. "But I'm not a soldier, I'm just a gardener." Days later, Zyra stood at the ship's docking bay, armed with her trusty laser spear, waiting for the arrival of their warriors. As the ship descended, the Los hovered nearby, a mix of anticipation and skepticism evident on his face. "Prepare yourself, Your Majesty. We do not know what to expect," the Los reminded her. "I know," Zyra replied, squaring her shoulders. "But what if ooh?" The ship landed with a dull thud, and the hatch opened. Zyra's heart raced in a combination of hope and frustration as she beheld the figure emerging. Elias stepped down, wiping his brow, oblivious to the gravity of the situation. "What is this?" the Los exclaimed, his wings flaring. "A gardener." "Hey there," Elias said, raising a hand in greeting. "I'm Elias, here to help." Zyra clenched her fists, trying to maintain her composure. "You? A gardener?" "Yes, I know how to cultivate plants and—" "Cultivate," the Los interrupted. "We need warriors, not plant nurturers. This is absurd." "I can learn," Elias quickly offered. "I'm adaptable. Just give me a chance." Zyra stepped forward, her expression fierce. "You think gardening will help us fight off the Zeta Alliance?" Elias straightened, meeting her gaze. "It might surprise you what a gardener can do in tough situations. I see resources where others see problems. Let me show you." The Los opened his mouth to speak, but Zyra silenced him with a wave of her hand. "Very well, gardener. We'll give you a chance. But know this, failure is not an option." As the sun fell, they moved to the palace gardens. Elias stepped into the lush, vibrant foliage, surrounded by nature's beauty. "This is incredible," he murmured, examining the exotic plants. Zyra stood with arms crossed, observing his reaction. "Let's see what you can do then. Show me how a gardener might aid in a conflict." Elias knelt beside a flower bed, carefully inspecting its condition. "These plants, if we cultivate them properly, their roots can create a natural barrier. We can also use certain flora as traps." Zyra raised an eyebrow, intrigued despite herself. "Traps?" "Sure. Plants that can immobilize intruders or create noise to alert us of approaching enemies," Elias explained enthusiastically. The Los scoffed. "You think plants will save us?" Elias turned to the Los, his gaze steady. "You underestimate nature. Plants can be both beautiful and deadly." Zyra observed the way Elias spoke with passion. There was something refreshing about him. "Show me," she commanded, and the challenge lit up his eyes. As twilight enveloped them, Elias began explaining which plants were useful for defense, passionately detailing their properties. Zyra, caught off guard by his enthusiasm, found herself slowly relaxing. "Okay, what's next?" Elias asked, brushing his hands together. Zyra, despite her better judgment, felt a flicker of hope. "We will train you in combat as well. You may need to defend this garden." "Great! I've always wanted to learn a few moves," Elias said with a grin. "It's not just moves," Zyra warned. "It's life or death." "Then let's make it count," he said, determination etched across his face. As the sun set behind the hills, the two of them stood amid the fading light, a sense of purpose forming between them. Zyra felt a strange bond starting to unfold, a curiosity she hadn't anticipated. Maybe a gardener wasn't the worst choice after all. "Tomorrow we will begin training at dawn," Zyra said firmly, her heart swaying just a bit, but with a newfound respect for the human gardener who stood before her. Elias nodded. "Looking forward to it, Your Majesty." Zyra felt the corners of her mouth lift, and as she turned away, she dismissed the unusual tug of excitement stirring within her. But amid the uncertainty and chaos, a gardener had indeed landed, not just to plant seeds in the soil, but in the heart of an alien world. Chapter 2. The Gardener's Touch. Dawn broke over Verdanis, casting a warm glow on the gardens that had been both a haven and now a training ground. Elias stirred from his sleep in a modest room within the palace. With a stretch, he glanced out the window, spotting the lush greenery surrounding him. For a brief moment, he felt at peace, but the weight of the day ahead pulled him back to reality. He dressed quickly, throwing on a simple tunic that Zyra had provided. As he made his way down to the gardens, he rehearsed in his mind the strategies he planned to share with Zyra. Outside, the morning air was crisp, and the scent of blooming flowers filled his lungs. He found Zyra inspecting a cluster of brightly colored flowers, her focus intense, like a warrior preparing for battle. "Good morning, Your Majesty," Elias called, unable to suppress a smile. Zyra turned, her expression a mixture of annoyance and curiosity. "You're late, gardener." "Not by much," he countered, his grin widening. "I woke up early, but I thought I could enjoy the view for a second. It's not every day one gets to wake up in an alien garden." Zyra crossed her arms, a hint of a smile playing at her lips. "What do you think? Can your skills help us?" "Absolutely. Nature can be more than just beauty. It can be our greatest ally," Elias replied, moving toward her. "Shall we get started?" Zyra gestured toward an open area near the rose bushes. "Show me what you can do." With determination, Elias knelt beside the bushes. "First, we need to fortify our defenses. These roses can be modified. They're sharp, and we can use them as a perimeter to deter intruders." "Sharp?" Zyra leaned closer, intrigued. "Explain." Elias picked a small thorny branch from the rose plant. "If someone tries to breach this area, they'll face more than just beauty." Zyra nodded, her caution easing slightly. "Go on." "Next, we can mask our movements. Some plants emit scents that attract predators. Planting those around the perimeter could create distractions." He looked around, gauging their surroundings. "Let me show you the wild blue fern. It's perfect for this." "Impressive," Zyra said, watching his enthusiasm grow. Elias glanced at her, sensing her intrigue. "I can demonstrate how they work. But first, we need to plant some here." "Let's gather what we need," Zyra agreed. The two began collecting various plants, and as they worked, the atmosphere lightened. Elias pulled weeds while Zyra uprooted small bushes, digging deeper than he expected. "Your Majesty, be careful with that one," he called out when he saw her struggling with a stubborn root. "I can handle it, gardener," she shot back playfully, her brows furrowing in concentration. "If you insist." He laughed, shaking his head as he demonstrated the technique for removing the root swiftly. Here, let me show you. She watched closely, intrigued by his method. The way he moved showed confidence in his abilities. You make it look easy. With practice, it can be, he replied, tossing the root aside. Just like combat, right? Zyra's eyes sparkled with a mix of admiration and challenge. You'll find combat isn't like gardening, Elias. Strategy and instinct are key. True, but the principles of patience and care apply everywhere. Even warriors need to nurture their skills. Her expression softened at his words. Very well. Let's see if your ideas hold true when faced with the enemy. After a few hours of planting, they took a break under the shade of a wide tree. Elias wiped the sweat from his brow and smiled. See? This is starting to look like a real defensive area. Zyra leaned back, her demeanor becoming more relaxed. I admit, I didn't expect this transformation. You have a talent for it. Elias grinned. Thanks. But remember, I'm still a gardener, not a warrior. True, she said, looking at him thoughtfully. What other skills do you have? Besides, you mentioned traps. Right? The sneaking vines can entangle anyone who steps too close. He explained with fervor. We need to plant them deeper near the edges. Zyra watched him, feeling a sense of camaraderie growing. You certainly have a knack for this. But can you also defend yourself in combat? Elias stood, hands on his hips. Absolutely. I'd love to learn how to fight one day. Her gaze sharpened. Are you prepared for that? I'm not afraid to learn, he replied, determination seeping into his words. The day progressed into afternoon, and they began a new phase, working on plant defenses and spending more time in conversation. Tell me about Earth, Zyra prompted, intrigued. What is it like? Elias's eyes lit up. Earth is vast and diverse. There are mountains, oceans, forests. Each area has its own beauty. We have animals that are completely different from yours. Animals? She asked, curious. Yeah, we have creatures like elephants, lions, and even birds that are incredibly colorful, he said, his excitement infectious. And then there are different cultures, languages. Zyra listened, immersed in his tales. It sounds captivating. We have only our own kind and some creatures from our world. What other interesting things? Food, Elias exclaimed. We have so many types of food. Different regions have different specialties. It's a huge part of our culture. Zyra raised an eyebrow. What about our food? You've tasted some, yes? Elias grinned. I have. It's very flavorful, but I bet I could make a great dish with earth ingredients mixed with Verdanis. We could try it. Zyra crossed her arms, a playful smile creeping in. You're ambitious for a gardener. I'm just saying we all need nourishment, body and spirit, he retorted, feeling more comfortable with her. I suppose you have a point, she admitted, her voice light. They chuckled together, the tension that had once loomed fading under the warmth of growing friendship. As the day wore on, they worked side by side, sharing stories of their worlds, all while fortifying Verdanis. Their laughter intermingled with the sounds of nature, transforming the pressure of the impending conflict into a shared purpose. But soon, the sound of a horn echoed through the air, breaking the moment. Zyra's expression hardened as she turned to Elias. That's the signal. What does it mean? He asked, his heart racing. It means the Zeta Alliance is closer than we thought. We need to prepare now. Elias nodded, adrenaline flooding his veins. Let's gather everything and get ready. Zyra cast a sideways glance at him, a mix of admiration and appreciation in her gaze. We might just pull this off after all. Elias smiled, determination in his eyes. Let's show them what a gardener can do. With newfound resolve, they rushed to defend their home, united in purpose and drawing strength from each other. The future remained uncertain, but for the first time it felt like they might wield the tools to shape their fate together. Chapter 3, Seeds of Connection. The sun hung high in the sky over Verdanis, casting shimmering reflections off the palace walls and illuminating the intricate foliage surrounding the garden. The anticipation of the approaching Zeta Alliance hung heavily in the air, but the determination to protect their home rallied the spirits of its defenders. Elias stood in the garden, surveying the work they had accomplished. The roses and ferns were now strategically planted, creating a fortified perimeter. He felt a sense of pride swell in his chest. Zyra approached, her expression still serious but somehow softened by their recent collaboration. Elias, do you think they might underestimate us, given our defenses? I hope so, he replied, crossing his arms. It'd give us the edge we need. If they think this is just a garden, they might walk right into our trap. Let's not count on underestimation alone, Zyra warned, her voice steady. Be prepared for anything. They won't be merciful. They want our land. He nodded, meeting her gaze. I understand. But we're a team now, right? We can outsmart them together. Zyra tilted her head, the corners of her mouth twitching as if fighting a smile. Together, yes? Suddenly an alarm shrieked through the air, startling both of them. It was the signal indicating that the Zeta Alliance had been spotted beyond their borders. Time to move. Zyra's voice rang with urgency. Elias quickly followed her as she led the way to the command center located within the palace. It was a stark contrast to the beauty of the gardens filled with monitors displaying the approaching hostile ships. Status report. Zyra commanded, her posture transforming instantly into that of a formidable leader. 5 ships on radar, descending rapidly, a soldier replied, panic in his voice. Prepare defenses. We need to be ready when they land. Elias stood nearby, his heart racing. What can I do to help? He asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Zyra turned to him quickly. Stick to the garden. Fortify it even more. And keep an eye out for any flanking forces. We may need escape routes. Right? I can do that. He felt the adrenaline pump through his veins as he dashed out of the command center. Elias raced back to the garden, adrenaline surging through him. He fortified the perimeter by weaving the sneaking vines through gaps in the other plants. As he worked, his mind ran through the strategies Zyra had taught him. Suddenly, he heard a rustling sound near the edge of the garden. He paused, peering through the dense foliage. Anyone there? He called out, his heart pounding. A figure emerged from the shadows. It was Tavon, one of Zyra's elite guards, his armor glinting in the light. Gardener, you need to get back to the palace. It's not safe here. Elias shook his head. I can't do that. The defenses need to hold. I'm part of this now. Tavon studied him for a moment, then nodded. Your confidence is admirable. But our defenses are key. If you see anything suspicious, signal us immediately. Will do, Elias said. He appreciated the guard's concern but felt an urgency to prove himself. Back in the command center, Zyra paced as she conferred with her advisors and soldiers. We stand our ground. We've trained for this. We will not let fear dictate our actions. Her firm voice encouraged the warriors. Tension started to ebb. But what if they breach our defenses? One soldier questioned. We can't afford to lose anyone today. Then we fight, she replied, painfully aware that the stakes were high. We do not retreat. This is the fight for our home. Elias worked quickly, planting more defensive flora around the garden. He could hear the thrumming of engines overhead. The oppressive sound heightened his sense of urgency. He pushed himself harder, his hands working feverishly until he felt a heavy presence near him. Tavon, is everything all right? The guard shook his head. We've spotted more movement. They're flanking us. Elias's heart sank, but resolve filled him. Let's create an escape route. We can use the vines to secure a back exit. Tavon's eyes widened. You might be right. If we can get our people out without losing anyone. Let's do it. They moved quickly, weaving the vines deeper and creating a concealed escape route. There. Tavon pointed. If they manage to breach, we can slip away. Elias took a step back to admire their work. It looks good. Let's hope we won't need it. Back in the command center, Zyra's focus remained unbroken. We've received word that they're starting to land. Prepare the defenses and hold your positions. A call came through from the perimeter. Your Majesty, they're here. Zyra's jaw tightened, and she braced herself. Out to the garden. Everyone, stay alert. She stormed out, her warriors following closely. The moment they reached the garden, they witnessed ships touching down, landing with an ominous thud. Elias joined Zyra, the weight of the situation settling on him. He glanced at her, feeling a powerful mix of fear and determination. Remember our plan, she whispered, taking a steadying breath. We need to outsmart them and keep our defenses strong. Understood, he replied. We'll do this. Just then, the doors of the ships opened, and armed figures began to emerge, clad in dark armor that gleamed ominously under the sun. Shouts erupted as Zyra raised her spear, ready to lead her warriors into battle. Elias gripped the closest plant. What if they don't expect us? If we're ready, we can push them back. Exactly, Zyra replied, eyes glinting with resolve. You know our place. Stay behind me. Elias nodded, adrenaline coursing through him. He straightened up, ready to stand beside her, his heart racing. The enemy advanced, weapons drawn, their laughter echoing in the air. Zyra barked commands to her warriors, directing them where to position themselves among the flowers. Now, she shouted, triggering the plants that had been set as traps. Vines erupted from the ground, tangling around the legs of the first wave of intruders, their shouts turning to panic. Keep firing, Zyra commanded, pushing forward. Elias watched in awe, firmly keeping an eye on the escape route they had prepared earlier. Just then, a lone intruder broke through the defenses, charging at him. Watch out! Zyra yelled as she sidestepped, her spear piercing the air with precision. With a burst of courage, Elias swung the tool he held, knocking the intruder off balance just as Zyra struck them down. Good job! Zyra shouted, adrenaline fueling her confidence. Stay alert! Elias felt a rush of delight but knew the fight was far from over. We can push them back. The garden is our home. With each passing moment, the garden became chaotic yet beautiful, a dance of nature and battle. Let's keep moving. Zyra roared, her leadership igniting sparks of unity among them. The air was filled with determination, and Elias realized he belonged here, beside Zyra, fighting for what mattered most. Together, they watched their plans for defense spring to life in an unexpected display of unity, strength, and purpose as they repelled the enemy, marking the garden not just as a sanctuary, but a battleground for freedom. Chapter 4, The Unlikely Alliance. The air crackled with tension as the battle unfolded in the once peaceful gardens of Verdanis. Elias ducked behind a cluster of thick foliage, catching his breath. The shouts of soldiers and the clash of metal reverberated around him. He peered out to see Zyra orchestrating her warriors, her spear slicing through the air with purposeful precision. Tavon, to your right, she called out, warning her elite guard as he fended off an advancing enemy. Elias couldn't help but admire her. She moved with the confidence of a born leader, commanding respect from her warriors even amid chaos. But he felt the pulse of fear threading through him. The Zeta Alliance was no ordinary foe, they came equipped and fierce. Elias! Tavon shouted, suddenly beside him. We need you on the other side. We're struggling to hold the line. Right? Elias exclaimed, gripping a nearby vine for support before darting out into the fray. I can help distract them. With swift steps, he maneuvered through the chaos, weaving past soldiers and dodging blasts. The plants he had carefully placed earlier, a mix of protective and offensive, seemed to come alive around him. Elias! Zyra's voice cut through the clamor, diverting his focus. What are you doing out there? I'm helping. He shot back, using the nearby sneaking vines to trap an exiting soldier. See? Just like we practiced. She shot him a look that combined exasperation and pride. Get to a safe position. I can't have my gardener getting hurt. I'm not just a gardener, he said, voice firm but tinged with the pulse of excitement that came from their unexpected alliance. I'm part of this team. Zyra nodded, respect shining in her eyes. Fine. Let's show them what teamwork looks like. Elias sharpened his focus, watching for openings as the soldiers clashed. He spotted an enemy soldier nearly breaching their defenses on the left flank. Over there, he shouted, calling Tavon's attention. On it, Tavon replied, racing toward the threat. Elias made his way to Zyra, who was coordinating with her warriors. What's the next step? We need to push them back toward their ships. We can't let them gain control here, she stated firmly. We need to work together, distracting them while simultaneously securing the perimeter. Elias nodded, a plan beginning to form. If we can use the plants you showed me, we might be able to create diversions. The vines should ensnare anyone who gets too close. Good thinking, Zyra said, a flicker of connection sparking between them. Let's move. They dashed through the chaos, finding thick clusters of vines and carefully adjusting them to create potential traps for the enemy. The tension between them faded as they worked in sync, their minds focused solely on the task at hand. As they prepared the area, Elias felt a sudden lime-green energy from Zyra. Her determination surged through him again as they breathed the same air, filled with courage and vulnerability. Okay, we're set, Zyra announced, stepping back to survey their work. Now let's lure them. Elias took a deep breath. How do we draw them in? I'll create some noise, she said, her eyes flashing with excitement. You use the vines to ensnare them as they approach. Got it, he replied, feeling a surge of adrenaline at the thought of working closely with her. Zyra stepped into the open, her spear raised high. Come and face the Queen of Verdanis. Are you all too cowardly to fight? Elias couldn't help but smirk at her boldness. You know how to draw them out. Let's see if they bite, she said, her voice laced with challenge as she looked back at him. From behind their makeshift barricade, Elias could see soldiers shuffling, glancing at their queen's taunts. The Zeta warriors seemed hesitant, caught off guard by her audacity. Now! Zyra shouted, and Elias jumped into action, activating the vines around them. To his delight, the vines sprang up, ensnaring the legs of two unsuspecting soldiers who advanced toward Zyra. They stumbled, lost, shouts fueling the urgency of their situation. I can't believe this is working, Elias exclaimed, trying to suppress a laugh. Don't celebrate yet, Zyra quickly reminded, adjusting her stance. We need to capitalize on this. Just as they managed to trap a few enemies, the Zeta Alliance retaliated, targeting their position. Blasts erupted nearby, and Elias felt the ground tremble beneath them. Get down! Zyra shouted, pulling Elias behind a thick hedge. They landed hard against the ground, and his heart raced as he listened to the chaos surrounding them. What do we do now? He asked, breathless. Zyra's eyes darted around, surveying their options. Stay low and follow my lead. We need to flank them before they regroup. Like a stealth attack? Elias replied, suddenly intrigued. Exactly. She formed a plan, her expression fierce and determined. We'll blend into the foliage, make our way around, and surprise them from behind. Okay, let's do this, Elias whispered, feeling the rush of adrenaline as they crept through the garden, remaining hidden. As they moved silently, Elias was struck by how naturally they worked together. Without thinking, he reached for Zyra's hand and she held on tightly. Do you think we can pull this off? He whispered, glancing at her. Zyra smiled, her confidence reassuring. With you? Absolutely. You're more than just a gardener, you're a strategist. Elias felt a heat rush to his cheeks. Thanks. That means a lot coming from you. Suddenly, they arrived at the edge of the Zeta forces, now distracted by their own disarray resulting from the vines. Now! Zyra commanded, her voice a steady force. They launched into action, moving quickly to engage the enemy from the back. With their newfound confidence, they fought side by side, using the combination of natural traps and strategic combat techniques they had developed together. Elias swung a makeshift weapon he had crafted earlier while Zyra gracefully dodged incoming attacks, her spear thrusting through the air with precise strikes. Watch your left, Zyra warned, but it was too late. An enemy soldier lunged at him, catching Elias off guard. Just as he braced for impact, Zyra intervened, the spear striking the ground at the intruder's feet and forcing him back. Are you okay? She asked, concern flashing in her eyes. I am now, he said, catching his breath. Thanks, Zyra. Their eyes locked for a moment, a chemistry between them sparking into a powerful connection. They returned to battle, more determined than ever, aware that now they fought not only for their home but also for each other. Struggling against the tide of the Zeta forces, they pushed forward, maneuvering with purpose. Slowly, their strategy began to pay off, and the allies around them rallied behind their newfound strength. Keep pressing, Zyra barked, raising her spear again. We're gaining ground. Elias felt invigorated by her words. Let's keep the pressure on. We can do this. The Zeta soldiers began to falter, retreating back toward their ships. As they closed in, Zyra turned to Elias once again. Get ready for the finishing move. After this, we'll reclaim our garden. Together, they sprinted toward the group of retreating enemies, the vines springing out to impede their escape. With their combined efforts, they pushed the Zeta forces back further still, with the garden transforming into a triumph, a testament of their partnership. As the last of the Zeta soldiers fled for their ships, Zyra looked at Elias, her breath coming heavy but steady. We did it. We really did, he exclaimed, filled with exhilaration. In a moment of celebration, they shared a glance full of gratitude and relief, neither of them fully grasping how much they had come to depend on one another in such a short time. Let's regroup and make sure everyone is okay, Zyra suggested, her voice softening. Right behind you, Elias replied, feeling the bond they had built become something inspiring. As they walked back through the garden, now marred by the conflict but somehow still beautiful, Elias realized he had found his place. Not just as a gardener, but as a defender, a partner in this world he had come to cherish alongside Zyra. He knew they had forged something unique, a friendship that could withstand any challenge thrown their way. Chapter 5. Blooming Together. The sun hung low in the sky as the dust began to settle from the battle. Elias surveyed the garden, a mix of relief and exhaustion washing over him. While they had successfully held off the Zeta Alliance, the remnants of the battle still lingered in the air, both in the form of fallen debris and lingering chaos. Over here, gather the rest, Zyra's voice rang out, directing her warriors as they collected the scattered remains of their defenses. Elias joined her, his heart still racing. "Are you okay?" he asked. Concern etched on his face as he noticed a slight bruise forming on her arm. Zyra waved a hand dismissively. "I'll be fine. It's nothing compared to what our people face today. We need to ensure everyone is all right." She glanced around, her gaze sharp as she began to pull together wounded soldiers in a central area. Elias nodded, diving into the crowd to offer help. He approached a soldier nursing a cut on his leg. "Here, let me help you with that." "Thanks, Gardener," the soldier replied, gritting his teeth as Elias bandaged the wound. "Never thought I'd be patched up by someone who tends to roses. Glad to be of service." Elias chuckled lightly, feeling a sense of camaraderie building among the group. Once the wounded were tended to, Zyra gathered everyone around. "I want to thank each of you for your bravery today. We faced a strong enemy, and yet we stood our ground. I couldn't have done this without you." Her eyes flicked toward Elias, her expression softening. "Or without our gardener." The collective laughter broke through the tension, and Elias felt himself blush. "Yeah, who knew a gardener could fight?" one soldier teased, nudging his companion. "More than you know," Zyra interjected playfully. "It takes hard work to bring beauty to this world, and today Elias helped us protect it." Elias felt a swell of pride as the group cheered again, lifting spirits amidst the remnants of battle. As the crowd dispersed, Zyra approached Elias under the trees where sunlight filtered through the leaves. "You did exceptionally well today," she said, her tone genuine. "I just did what any gardener would do," Elias replied, brushing off the compliment. "Not just any gardener." "You fought like a warrior," she said firmly. "And you thought up strategies that saved lives." He glanced at the ground, trying to hide his smile. "It felt good to contribute. I never expected to find myself in a situation like this." Zyra nodded knowingly. "You adapted quickly. You've earned your place here, Elias. I've really enjoyed it. I feel like I've found something I never knew I was missing," he admitted, glancing up. "It's not just the fighting, though. It's being part of something larger." Zyra's expression softened, her gaze earnest. "You've changed this place, Elias. You've brought new life to our gardens, our defenses, and to my people. Your perspective matters." Elias felt warmth bloom in his chest, realizing that the bond they had forged during the battle extended beyond mere strategy. There was an understanding, a shared trust that no longer felt like a mere partnership. "Thank you, Zyra. It means a lot coming from you," he replied, his voice steady. Suddenly, Tavon approached, looking a bit worn but relieved. "Your Majesty, we've managed to push their forces back and secure our borders for now. They won't be returning anytime soon." "Good. I want everyone to rest and recuperate," Zyra commanded. "But we'll need to remain vigilant." Elias nodded, inwardly relieved but knowing their challenges weren't over yet. However, another idea sparked in his mind. "We could set up more defenses around the garden. Maybe add some noise-making plants to alert us of any intruders?" Zyra smiled at him, always thinking ahead. "It wouldn't hurt to strengthen our defenses. Plus, I had this idea about a possible sapling that could create a visual barrier," Elias continued, his enthusiasm swelling. "It not only camouflages but actively repels unsavory elements." Tavon raised an eyebrow, impressed. "You've really taken to this. Count me in. We can secure this garden even more thoroughly." Zyra's expression turned serious. "Let's gather the rest of the warriors. I want everyone involved in these improvements. This won't be a single effort, we'll all contribute. It's essential we keep working together." Hours passed as they gathered a small assembly of soldiers to brainstorm new ideas for fortifying their home. Elias felt a sense of purpose as he shared his plans, the energy in the room infectious. "What if we plant sentry flowers here and here?" he explained, gesturing at various spots in their makeshift map. "They can camouflage while alerting us." "What about here, by the fountain?" one soldier suggested. "We can create a vigilance post right where the vines stretch." "Exactly. Combined, it would create layers of protection." Bakar, another soldier, chimed in, getting into the spirit. "Let's get to work," Tavon urged. Elias felt the swell of excitement as the group moved into action, the garden once again buzzing with activity and collaboration. As the sun began to set, casting brilliant colors across the sky, Elias found himself working side by side with Zyra, planting the new flowers they had discussed. The camaraderie earned from shared experiences transformed into a natural rhythm between them. "You really love this plant, huh?" Zyra asked, glancing at him as he held a vibrant sapling. "It's one of my favorites," Elias replied, gently placing it in the soil. "I love how it creates beauty while serving a purpose. And it reminds me of how we've all come together." Zyra chuckled softly, digging her own hole. "You know, I used to think strength only resided in weapons. But I see now that nature provides strength of its own." "It does," he replied, wiping the sweat from his brow. "Together, we can bring both beauty and strength here." For a moment, they paused, looking at the freshly planted flowers together, the air of potential thick around them. "I didn't expect to find someone like you," Zyra said, her expression contemplative. Elias raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "You've changed how I see the world. Your perspective reminds me that strength can take many forms. You're not just a gardener, Elias, you're a bridge between our worlds." He felt warmth flood his chest at her words. "And you're far more than just a queen," he replied, sincerity coloring his voice. "You lead with strength and compassion." Zyra smiled, the connection between them growing deeper. "Maybe we're stronger together than we realized." As darkness settled in over Verdanis, they finished their work for the day, stepping back to admire what they had accomplished. The garden flourished with promise and renewed purpose, fortified by not only the plants they had nurtured but by the bonds they had forged amidst adversity. "Tomorrow is a new day," Zyra said, glancing at him, her expression serious but affectionate. "Together, we'll make it count," Elias replied, a sense of shared determination filling the space between them. As they retreated into the palace, the stars began to twinkle in the night sky above them, reminding Elias that the journey ahead was just beginning, one rooted not only in battle but in the blossoming connection between a gardener and a queen.